Hometowns are done and The Bachelor is on to Fantasy Suites. And nothing ever goes wrong during Fantasy Suites, right? Just ask like every other Bachelor ever. So, will Grant continue his wolf pack with Juliana? What does the Book of Mormon say about a man having overnights with 2 other women? And how is Zoe still here? Well, let's take a look at this latest preview and see what we can find out, and as per usual, please, no posting any outright spoilers in the comment section below unless you can back it up with sleuthing, and a link to the full preview is in the description.
Next week.
Welcome to the Women Tell All.
All of your favorite women from Grant's season are back on the stage.
Okay, pausing here because this first part of the preview is just a promo for the Women Tell All next week. None of this is new footage or footage from the actual taping of the Tell All, so I'm just gonna skip over it and get to the Fantasy Suite stuff. But expect next week to just be the Tell All, and then overnights will happen the week after.
And then, in 2 weeks,
Hola, we're in a DR.
Grant's journey continues.
This is where my family's from. So
This is the perfect place to get engaged.
So, Fantasy Suites are in the Dominican Republic, where Grant's family is from. And my goodness, it's still kind of insane that Zoe is here. I mean, to be fair, if Dina was still around, she'd be the very clear odd one out of the 3 as well, but at least Dina had had a one-on-one this season. But I guess after not a single one of Dina's family members showed up to her hometown, it's not a total shocker that Zoe got in by default. However, it certainly makes it anticlimactic with who will be going home next rose ceremony, which we'll have to wait 2 weeks for. And I mean, you don't need 2 weeks to tell me it's going to be Zoe. But hey, maybe the dynamic will change somehow, so let's see how the week goes.
He's driven, he's humble, he's kind. Grant has a lot of qualities that I want in a husband.
Love to me means safety and support and understanding and kindness.
Yeah, no amount of getting Zoe and Grant to latch onto each other and stare into each other's eyes after yoga is going to change the order of things. The only way I could see Zoe making it to the final 2 at this point is if one of the other women were self-eliminating. I just don't see the connection with Zoe surpassing Juliana's or Latia's. Now, that being said, there is a small drama tease with Latia having some fears later on, but even that is a bit of a fake out, at least if the preview is trying to get us wondering if there's a chance things will be going wrong with her. As here, we can see Latia on this date, but if we go back to the season preview, we can also see that she gets a zipline date, meaning she'll have 1 date for Fantasy Suites and then another date after that. 2 dates for the 2 remaining episodes that don't include the Women Tell All. So, no surprise, Latia will be making it to the final 2. Moving on.
your heart is what I see.
I'm a little broken and I'm still working to fix myself.
That's what love is for, because it fixes you.
I really want Grant to be my person forever.
I never thought it would be possible to be in love with multiple women.
Okay, so before we get into the drama teased for Fantasy Suites, here we see Juliana's date. Juliana's star has really been rising these last 2 episodes, and with Grant pushing to tell her he's falling in love with her at the end of her hometown, I kind of see Juliana as the new frontrunner over Latia. Of course, this could be an editing ploy to pump up Juliana's edit and add drama to Latia's in order to create suspense, as up ahead we will be getting some doubt thrown into Latia's Fantasy Suite. And what I mean by this is that it's possible Latia is still the frontrunner, but then the editors throw in more positive Juliana footage and pull from Latia's in order for it to be less obvious that he picks Latia in the end. So essentially make Juliana look real good and add some roadblocks to Latia's story, and then boom, we have a more compelling end of the season. Now, do I think this is actually the case? Not necessarily, but it's something to consider. Either way though, like with Latia getting 2 dates, we also have footage from the season preview of Juliana going on 2 dates in the final filming location. Meaning, whatever happens next week, it's Juliana and Latia getting the roses. But let's see this Latia trouble that's coming up.
My biggest fear is Grant being intimate with someone else.
Do you think that's something that could break us?
They say distance makes the heart grow fonder, but distance is so hard when you know he's spending time with other girls.
So here we see the potential downfall of Grant and Latia's relationship. Her biggest fear being that Grant is intimate with someone else, followed by Grant asking if that's something that could break them. The Maddie Pruitt storyline.
I wouldn't be able to move forward if you have slept with the other woman.
Who knows what actually goes down in this heavily edited section of the preview, but this is all a pretty typical fantasy suite storyline. Wondering if the lead is off being physically intimate with someone else and letting that spiral you into insanity, which could be the one way that Zoe makes it into the final two, if this week breaks Grant and Latia's relationship. And could you imagine Zoe in the final two? I mean, I know the third date is often when you finally do the deed, but usually that deed doesn't involve getting engaged. But now, we literally just did the sleuthing like a minute ago. We know Latia and Juliana have those two dates, so that's not going to happen, and Zoe will be going home. However, the one very real thing that could come out of this is if this conversation causes enough damage to not affect fantasy suites, but affect Latia in the finale. I mean, it's clear who's going home next, but what happens next week is also going to factor into Grant's decision for the finale, which, as we've seen, is something he vacillates over right up until the last second.
I genuinely don't know what I'm gonna do, and it's scary because there is an engagement next week. Stay tuned for my demise.
And there the preview ends, on Grant telling us to stay tuned for his demise. And while everything up to the final two has been predictable, or at least predictable in the sense that it's always been either Juliana or Latia, and the rest will happen as it happens, it's once we get to the final two where we see everything up in the air. So for next week, we'll be getting the Women Tell-All, where I imagine it's once again going to be all focused on Carolina, and since Zoe is still on the show, we won't even have her there to talk about all her drama from early on in the season. So yeah, it's really just going to be them hashing out all the Carolina stuff. Then in 2 weeks, we'll see Zoe's elimination at Fantasy Suites, regardless of if there's some Latia trouble or not. Which, by the way, might not actually be a thing. This stuff could just be production pumping up anything they can just to try and tease us with some drama. After that, though, it's a guess. I'm still going with Juliana as the final pick, as I feel as though Grant has had no doubts with her, at least not lately. He's got that lone wolf tattoo connection, he just adores the big family and how loyal her family is, something he said he's felt he missed out on in his own childhood, and while Latia has that as well, there were more questions thrown around with all the Mormon stuff, and I don't know, I've just felt like I've seen Grant be a little more himself with Juliana lately, and less like the Bachelor. But a lot can change at Fantasy Suites, so if you're thinking otherwise, you might be right. All I know for sure though is it just definitely won't be Zoe, right? Although, I have been saying that for a while now, but this time for sure, right? Yeah. So that's it for this preview breakdown for week 7 of The Bachelor. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, comment your thoughts and theories down below, and subscribe to the channel for more content. And until next time, Bachelor Fantake out.
My biggest fear is Grant being intimate with someone else.
Do you think that's something that could break us?
They say distance makes the heart grow fonder, but distance is so hard when you know he's spending time with other girls.